I'd like to call to order the regular Township Board meeting for Chesterfield Township to order for Tuesday, August 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. to order. Could we all stand, face the flag, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Barry, would you call the roll?
Supervisor Kersten.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph. Here. Trustee DeMink.
Here.
Trustee Vosberg.
Here.
Clerk Barry is here.
Treasurer Elliott is away at a conference. I ask that she be excused. Item 4, approval of agenda. Clerk Barry,
Item 4A is the approval of the agenda with addendum if necessary.
is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Barry, supported by Trustee DeMink. Clerk Barry,
Clerk Barry, aye. Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
aye.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 5, presentations. There are none scheduled. Item 6, department reports. Any department reports? I'll bring it to the board. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. A couple of reports. The first is the public safety meeting was held on August 8th. We have a couple of agenda items tonight that Director Bassett will, expound on, but some other items that were covered is we have 4 new police officers that are currently doing very well. 1 part-time dispatcher that started on June 20th. We have currently 3 new part-time cadets that started on July 1st. 2 new part-time cadets will start on August 12th. We also have 1 new part-time firefighter that started on July 24th, and reports from Chief Craig are that the training is going exceptionally well. Would like to point out that the cadet program has really been very, very successful from the standpoint of being able to kind of measure the fitness of and the appropriateness for both the cadet and the township. It gives us an opportunity to have people that are interested in public safety, kind of explore and go through the training before, we both make full-time commitments. So it's been a good opportunity, and we've seen a couple of examples of cadets that went through the program or partially through the program and sort of recalibrated that maybe in one instance dispatch was a better fit, and in some instances law enforcement really wasn't the path. So we're able to vet those and evaluate in a cadet relationship, and the program has really been exceptional. The renovation updates, as far as the dispatch and sergeants area, the sergeants have moved into their new space. The dispatch center is fully operational. The building exterior renovation is going well. There's a lot of work there, and there is some difficulties with product being delivered timely. There's an excessive amount of steel and things that need to shore up that building. So, but aside from some of those delays, everything is going very well. There was a cheers to Chesterfield after action, and very critical analysis of all areas that we could improve, and I thank the director and his administrative team for looking at that. And I don't know, am I missing anything, Trustee Anderson?
I think, well, a couple items that you referenced will be addressed by the director later in the meeting. One thing, the chief, our fire chief, they were able to get a $62,000 no strings attached grant, no matching money that'll allow our firefighters to have turnout equipment, that is, as far as personal safety, doing her job. So good job there. And I think you pretty much nailed everything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just had one additional committee report. If, unless Trustee DeMake wanted to give it, then that was our Senior Advisory Committee. I don't know, Supervisor. Okay. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. So our Senior Advisory Board met yesterday, and just for those who were questioning, the Senior Advisory Board was put together really to tackle some of the issues that were being faced by our seniors who were moved from the township to the community center, and they've encountered a number of challenges, and they've been quite vocal about them, and the intent was to form a panel. We have 5 senior volunteers who sit on the committee, and the goal really was to open up communication. I think it paid huge dividends, at least as it relates to, well, certainly this meeting, because we do have an action item on the agenda tonight that was a big conversation and talking point at our meeting last night. But in essence, what happens at the advisory, senior advisory meetings is we don't really have I don't think it's comprised of the board members, myself, Trustee DeMake, and Supervisor Kersten. We don't have a chair. The meeting is more of a facilitated operation. So our Parks and Rec Director, Michelle Vanderson, sets the agenda, and she does that after getting feedback in the month between our July meeting and August meeting. She sets the agenda and then just creates an opportunity for us to discuss the issues. We do a lot of listening. The seniors were selected because of their involvement with the program. So we have some seniors who are very, very involved in the aerobics classes and some of the more popular programming. We have representatives who are on different days, and maybe their involvement is more heavily concentrated with cards or whatever. But what we try to do is capture seniors who take advantage of programming every day of the week and have a greater networking opportunity. So 5-member senior panel with the board members and Ms. Vanderson facilitating. And if I could just touch on some of the things that came up at the July meeting were seniors expressing concerns over just the bathroom fixtures. So that is an elementary school, and the fixtures are really set to accommodate children, which can be difficult for seniors. So fixtures that are more appropriately height and designed for adults. So they raise those as concerns. Building is in need of some HVAC repairs, and one of the simple fixes was just some window treatments, some blinds to cut down on the heat that comes in from, just basic sunlight. Another concern, which we will address tonight, is the parking lot as it was prepared for an elementary school and bus lanes. Really does not permit a lot of parking close to the building, so seniors were forced to walk a pretty significant distance, and we, as lease tenants, in essence, we really couldn't do anything about the parking lot in terms of restriping it and providing. We do have an action item tonight that involves that, and that will create an additional 25 spaces closer to the building. The other issue that came up in July was the use of the building. So the community center doesn't have dedicated rooms for cards or dedicated rooms for aerobics or some of the other classes. So it requires the Parks and Rec staff in cooperation, if they can get some assistance from other departments, F&O or Public Services, to set up the room. And so we had seniors lugging chairs and tables, and that was something that they asked us to take a look at. So those were the July sort of action items, and throughout, I think probably that night, Trustee DeMake and Supervisor Kersten and I kind of talked and brainstormed, and all of those issues have been addressed. And this month, the real topic of concern was an item that we took up 2 weeks ago, and that involved the Macomb County Head Start program and their use of part of the elementary, now the community center, and how that would impact programming. And we can talk more about it when that agenda item comes up, but I did have the benefit of meeting with the director level, administrator level, Macomb County Head Start staff and their director to talk about what the Head Start program actually is. And I think when we discussed it last night, there may have been some confusion from the seniors that it was, in essence, an extension of the Anchor Bay School District, and that it was a continuation of the school. And having had the benefit of meeting with the Head Start folks, I was able to share with them that this is a completely separate program that really does not have an interaction with the seniors. It doesn't impact their parking, it doesn't impact their buses, in that the Head Start program has no bus service. And so when we had the presentation 2 weeks ago and we talked about some of the concerns, there was even some comments from the podium about how it is beneficial, and the research suggests that seniors and children and all of that working together was a benefit. And while it certainly is a benefit, our seniors were reporting that in the same way that I would maybe want to go out and play a round of golf, it doesn't mean that I don't like children if I don't want to share that experience with my buddies with kids. And in fact, some of the seniors said, look, we have grandchildren, and we're not necessarily hurting for interaction with children. What we want to do is be able to come to the community center, exercise, and have a sort of a separate experience, that they weren't necessarily looking for interaction with the students, which is very much in line with the Head Start program. These are pre-kindergarten children. Their classrooms are structured in an isolated sort of part of the building, sight and sound separated from all the other activities, and it's that way by design. It is a licensing requirement of the Head Start program, and so any senior participation or any participation in any way from an adult or anybody from outside the vetted Head Start staff would be rare, and it would only be done with adult supervision. So there is no children wandering the halls. Their student to teacher ratio is highly scrutinized and evaluated by licensing. So when we were able to talk it all the way through, I think the one compelling thing that I heard from the seniors was when they realized that the 51 students who are enrolled, that program remains at 100% capacity and has for the last decade. It's a highly sought after program, and it is filled with the children from our community. So this is not inconsistent with a community center. And while it's not housed in an elementary school setting, the 51 children that are in that program that are enrolled and set to begin here shortly would be without a program if the decision by the board is to not approve the agenda item tonight. Those 51 students, again, many of them Chesterfield residents, would be simply without a program. They can't go to another building because the licensing requires are structured such that it would be probably a 3-month at best process to secure another building. So great conversation all the way through with the seniors, and by the time we discussed it, they were in much better, had much better feelings about the program. And so our next meeting is September 16th, and we intend to take on a number of issues, including possible flooring, temporary flooring there. And just closing with this, we continue to field questions from the seniors, and there is constant, feedback from some of the committee members who express that they receive complaints or concerns from seniors who say, we're never going back. You know, that this has been an intentional move, and that we're, here at the community center. And so the discussion was about whether or not we should start every meeting with a reminder, and that their home is here. Their home is here in this building, and there will be a return to their home, and that is the intention of everybody that I've talked to, including the supervisor, and he reiterated it again last night. But it is a lingering issue. So nothing but good to report from the Senior Advisory Committee, and I thank Ms. Vanderson and her staff for paying such close attention to our seniors. Thank you.
Brad,
Trustee Domingue.
just real quick, and Trustee Joseph said it. Seniors, if you're watching this on video or TV or whatever, you're coming back here to the senior center. Okay, once, twice, you're coming back here. We've hashed this out at the last two meetings between Trustee Joseph, Supervisor, and I. We keep telling them, they're coming back. So whatever the rumors you're hearing that you're not coming back, totally false. The seniors are coming back here and going to your senior center. Cut and dried. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As everyone knows, last Tuesday we held our August state primary election. A couple points of information to share with you. Our total turnout for that election was 9,032 total voters. 3,115 of those voters voted in the Democratic primary, and 5,353 voters participated in the Republican primary. The remaining 564 voters, of those, 557 were crossovers, so those votes did not count for the partisan section. There were 2 blank ballots cast and 5 nonpartisan. In other words, 5 voters who did not choose any candidates from the partisan section and simply voted for the nonpartisan race. Our registered voters is 38,229, which means that our turnout was 24%. That is actually down 10% from 2020 when our turnout was 34%. That is a trend that we are seeing across the state. In fact, Macomb County, most communities did have a reduced number of voters and a reduced turnout for this election. Our AV ballots sent were 8,694, which represents 23% of the total registered voters here in Chesterfield. And of those ballots, 6,183 were tabulated, so 71% were returned to us when compared to the total number of ballots sent. During early voting, 298 voters turned out to vote. 297 ballots were tabulated, with 1 ballot being abandoned by the voter. That is for all 9 days of early voting, again, down from February, and that is also a consistent trend that we are seeing statewide as well. Perhaps it was because it was a beautiful summer day. I don't know. I think we got some rain that day, but whatever the case might be, that is a trend that we're seeing pretty consistently. In May, we did not have early voting, so we cannot include May in any of our calculations, as that was a special election. And also, AV ballots are mailed 40 days prior to the election, and so many people had already voted by absentee ballot as well. On Election Day, 2,552 ballots were cast from all 10 precincts. The highest turnout precinct was precinct number 3 with 357 voters, and our lowest turnout precinct is precinct 8 with 96 voters. Thank you.
Item 6, consent agenda. Clerk Barry. Oh, I'm sorry. Back up. Item 7, public comments on agenda items only. The mic is open. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name, not required, just so we can keep track. Mic is open.
Good evening. Nancy Hutchinson, 49525 Callens. Just wanted to speak a little bit about the Head Start program. I feel that it absolutely should stay exactly where it is. It's not going to hurt the seniors. These students, these 51 students, are our community members. So if it truly is going to be a community center, leave the children there. Their parents are also community members. To throw these kids out and leave them hanging is just wrong. Sorry, just wrong. I couldn't open my mouth last night, but I just wanted to let everyone know that. Thank you.
Christopher Pierrick, Chesterfield Township. In regards to the bill run, I did notice several entries on there for Rocket Enterprises for annual costs for flag maintenance. I saw that many of them were around $225. However, there was one for Brandenburg Park for $3,500. I'm just wondering why that's 15 times the cost as the other facilities or locations. Item B, regards to the Head Start program, I agree that uprooting the kids would be a bad thing. However, Trustee Joseph mentioned that for them to go to a different facility would take a lot of investigation and length to research that. Since this is not a school anymore, is it considered a new facility, and is everything going to line up with what they need? And have we done our due diligence as far as liabilities with bringing those in under the township? Item G is $14,000 for to approve a project for, I gotta look at my notes here, sorry, for Police Assessment Center development. So this is a recommendation to approve this. However, in the packet it looks like it's an invoice and it's already been done. So should it be approval to pay this invoice, or is it to do the project? Same thing with item I. That's $29,000 for upgrades to the computer system for failures. Has that been done? Is this a recommendation to do the project or a recommendation to pay for the project that's already been done? Clarification on that would be great. Thank you.
Good evening, Janice Young. The two speakers previous supported the Head Start program, and I'm not opposed to it being there. I just have some concerns about it. Sugar Bush Elementary is no longer a school, and it no longer has the security measures in place that it did when it was a school. In fact, I was told that the security cameras on the back of the building were not operational during early voting. That took place, I guess, during the transition of it being sold to us. So it seems like maybe our elections were perhaps at risk, and I feel like maybe the kids in there would be at risk if these items, if something like that isn't addressed. In addition, item 10E, you want to seal coat and restripe the parking lot, which will remove the bus lanes. You said at the senior meeting last night, or it was said, that there would be 51 kids, and you said that there would be no buses in there. The seniors didn't want the buses, and they would give them the up-close parking. So instead of 2 or 3 buses, it seems like we're going to have 51 parents dropping and picking up 51 kids. That seems like a lot of car traffic coming through there. I don't know if that would actually be ideal for the seniors. And I would have mentioned this at the meeting last night if public comments had been allowed. Finally, the $7,500 we're going to get in turn, does that actually cover the cost to run that wing of the building for them, the heat, AC, electric, water for an entire school year? And as Mr. Pierrick mentioned about the liability, does the Head Start carry the insurance for that? What happens if a child is injured in the building or on the property? Does Head Start cover that? Are we as the owners liable for that? And I understand that the Head Start program, is to help families that meet the income requirements, but it is a federally funded program, and it seems like maybe we might be subsidizing it a little bit if we don't get enough in return on our end. Item 10C, the crosswalk sign on Sugar Bush. I've asked for over a year about this sign. The concrete was extended to Sugar Bush without having any amenities put in for safety. And all of a sudden, you guys want to spend $61,000 because you're concerned about safety. So my question is, how many pedestrians have been using that? How many have gone across there? Have you done any research on it? Have you monitored it? Is there a camera? Is it really warrant $61,000? I know I've asked Ms. Garby about it, and she said the county was being difficult to work with, and I guess I didn't understand why it would be so difficult to get a street sign and some striping on the concrete, but now I see why. And maybe, this is kind of overkill for this area, and maybe it could be, used somewhere else, like maybe on Jefferson and Hooker. Item 10D, the interceptor. I still believe you made a bad decision when you took over ownership of this line from the county without them first holding Lenox, New Haven, and the correctional facility accountable for their responsibility of their prorated use. I know there's been some grant money thrown at this, but will that grant money cover the cost of repairing the entire line? And I'm quite sure Candace Miller and Dan Accavetti appreciate you taking the failing line off their hands. Thanks.
Good evening. A point of clarity, please, maybe Mr. Chair or perhaps Mr. Joseph. So I understand that Ms. Young indicated that last night that she was at the senior meeting. I know that my organization, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, had inquired to Ms. Vanderson about attending the senior meeting last night because we have some national initiatives for elder care and for seniors that we wanted to discuss as well, and we were told that it was not open to the public. Point of clarity, please, on that. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public? Item 8, consent agenda. Clerk Berry.
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of July 23rd, 2024. B, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Vosberg. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, Clerk Berry. I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Vosberg. Clerk Berry.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 9, public hearing. There are no public hearings scheduled tonight. We move to item 10, the regular agenda. Clerk Berry.
Item 10A is to set a public hearing for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 at 7 p.m. to hear comments on an application for an industrial facilities exemption certificate, IFEC, submitted by Gestamp Saint Clair, LLC, located at 52153 Sierra Drive, Chesterfield Township, Michigan, 48047, for a new 450,000 square foot industrial facility.
So moved.
Trustee Demink, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Discussion? Clerk Berry.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10B.
Item 10B is approval of Supervisor Bradley Kersten to sign a letter of agreement between Chesterfield Township and Macomb County to provide space for the operation of Head Start classrooms at the Chesterfield Community Center from September 1, 2024 through August 31st, 2025, with total revenue to Chesterfield Township in the amount of $7,500.
Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the added stipulation that the matter be contingent upon Mr. Siebert's execution of the formalized lease agreement.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion or discussion? Trustee Joseph?
Yes, the reason for the additional, I know that the original agreement that went from Head Start program and that was negotiated, when the attorney reviewed the agreement, there really didn't seem to be anything out of line, although there were some concerns that were listed regarding some of the comments that we actually heard from the podium tonight, that being the indemnification of the township. And if I could, I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Scott. I had the good fortune and was lucky enough that my administrative assistant is very good friends with Ms. Rashida Hammond, and she reached out after the meeting 2 weeks ago to try to have a little bit more dialogue and follow-up to the discussion and presentation that Mr. Scott made. We had an opportunity to meet yesterday, and I appreciate Mr. Scott and his team accommodating my schedule. We met for lunch. Mr. Scott, who is the director of the Macomb Community Action, which is I guess the agency that supervises the Head Start program, but the Head Start program is a sort of a self-contained unit, and together with Mr. Scott, we're his two program directors, Sarah and Marilyn. They are very, very hands-on with the children, and so a lot of the questions that were raised tonight from the podium were things that I think were covered by the Head Start program, specifically as it relates to the children's safety. I feel very comfortable that their licensing requirements are very, very stringent, and so there are no students that sort of leave that confined space, and when they do, they're constantly with adult supervision and the Head Start staff. With regard to the questions about the building and whether or not this constituted a new building, the rooms are inspected and evaluated independent of the building owner. So the rooms have been really undisturbed, and there were no changes to that area of the building from our ownership. They were exactly left intact as they were for the Head Start program last year. So their licensing team is aware that they are entering into a new agreement with a different landlord, but in essence, the building, the portion of the building that are utilized by these 51 students remains the same. I'm trying to remember the other area of concern, but liability. Sorry, the liability. The current agreement really does not speak specifically enough for Attorney Siebert's. And when talking with Mr. Scott and his team yesterday, they're very accustomed to, they have agreements with a number of districts. There are 21 separate school districts in Macomb County. Head Start has a presence in 17 of those districts, inclusive of a similar a church in Warren, which is effectually a community center similar to our building. So they are really had zero issues with ensuring that the township was covered from a student that may be injured and so forth. So Mr. Siebert did have an opportunity to review the agreement, and he listed a number of areas which he then shared back with the supervisor, and Mr. Scott and his team at the county will simply remedy those areas of concern, and we will then be able to accommodate, as another speaker put it, certainly an operation and a program that falls under the umbrella of what a community center would be. And in terms of the money, I don't know, that we are necessarily in a position to, I don't say that we're not concerned about the money, but certainly providing our children, 51 of them in this instance, with a safe, familiar place for programming is exactly what you would hope that we'd offer at a community center. Again, the difficulties that the Head Start program have had to overcome with this transition, their relationship was with the school. The township really wasn't obligated or aware of the ongoing relationship with the Head Start program, and when it was brought to the supervisor's attention, I think he did a solid job of reaching out to the attorney, to the Head Start people, trying to find a way to make it work without disenfranchising 51 students. And in this instance, I think it worked out. And I appreciate the patience of Mr. Scott and his team, because I think maybe after the two-week presentation, there was a feeling that there was somehow an anti-Head Start. And being able to sit down and talk with your team, I hope you understand that the concerns that I had really centered around the unusual situation that you had no knowledge of, which is our seniors. And I think we could always be looking to do a better job of communicating with them. And so my advocacy wasn't a conflict with your operation. It was just in making sure that our seniors were aware and that they understood what impact there could be when it was explained to them in exactly the way that we set up this advisory committee to get information to and from. The general consensus in the room was those kids need to be here. And nobody was comfortable with the idea of those children not having a Head Start opportunity. But they were given the opportunity to express their concerns. And I know one of the speakers made a comment at the last meeting about seniors can speak for themselves, but in this instance, I think it was very, very appropriate to consult with them and make sure that they were aware when they were in favor. And the only other remaining item was the legal aspect. When talking with Mr. Siebert, he has a great handle on it. Didn't seem to be a heavy lift, and I'm sure we can get this done without bringing it back to the board. And lastly, thanks, Ms. Hammond. Appreciate you reaching out and finding a way to get us together in the same room, and your commitment to the children that you work with and children in general. You've been a fixture in the Mount Clemens area, and I was happy to see that you were taking another step to run for school board, and I wish you the best in your election. Thank you.
Just a couple comments I'm not going to add to it. Great team to work with, Mr. Scott. Appreciate everything you've done. Again, the attorney, they've worked with Attorney Siebert. This is a very simple, as you said, lift. It's not a big deal. And I'm glad that we can accommodate you at such short notice. So thank you very much. Clerk Berry?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. And I'd like to also offer myself and my staff to be available to have a conversation or a meeting with the Head Start program to talk about the impact of our elections operations there, early voting a day of, so that if there's any adjustments or accommodations that need to be made, that everyone is aware of what happens. It's not just, you show up on a day and vote. There's quite a bit of other activity that goes along with that, and we just would like to make sure that everyone's aware, so that if adjustments need to be made, we can go ahead and do that, because we'd like to work harmoniously with everybody. Thank you.
I have a motion by Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10B. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Just a quick note, I want to thank Karen and Josh for accommodating your meetings and everything, getting this done. Item 10C.
Item 10C is to approve with recommendation by the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Macomb County Department of Roads to install rectangular rapid flashing beacons with push buttons and overhead illuminated crosswalk sign with wood poles on Sugar Bush across from the Township Municipal Office at a cost not to exceed $61,000 and an annual estimated maintenance cost of $2,000 annually. The cost share to Macomb County Department of Roads is $60,000, and there is a $1,000 charge for initial DTE work.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support?
Support.
Trustee Vosberg? Just to add to this, the Jefferson and Hooker project is underway. It's already been approved. We just got a notice from the, I'm sorry, Karen, go ahead. Didn't see you.
It's okay. I did want to update everyone on, this is the same installation as we're going to be having at this Hooker and Jefferson crossing. It is a little bit more expensive because it was last year's pricing when we got the Jefferson and Hooker. On Monday, yesterday, we did receive an email from Colleen, the traffic safety engineer with Macomb County Department of Roads, stating that the design for Hooker and Jefferson is complete. The material had been delayed because it was on back order, but is now here. We're waiting on DTE to provide power for the overhead cross light, and everything else will be installed in the next few weeks.
questions? Questions? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, where physically will the crosswalk and the signage be located? And the other question was the timeline for installation on this particular project. When do we anticipate that to be occurring?
The county did not give me a timeline. Unfortunately, they take a very long time. The Jefferson and Hooker, we signed the cost agreement back in December, and we are just now getting it installed. I believe that the delay mostly was for the materials, and they're getting the materials a little quicker, so I'm hoping that it's a much quicker turnaround, because I was emailing and going back and forth with the county almost on a monthly basis. And we did have other residents asking, we did have Ms. Young asking when it would be done, and back in June, and I told her then that I was continuing to get updates from Colleen, but, so I have no updates for when it would exactly be installed. They did not give me that information.
And I'm sure once that if we sign this agreement, I'm sure we can ask them for a time frame for construction.
I just had one additional comment. We all received an email from Mr. Hebben, who lives on Jefferson. He wrote to everyone on the board and indicated some concerns about just the cost. And he indicated that, as the board is aware, because they've seen it, but the public, that his concern was that there are other projects in the township that could benefit from the $66,000, and was concerned about how much impact that would make versus other projects. And I'm curious to know, in the spirit of those, concerns, how was the decision reached to, enter the crosswalk and the expenditure of $66,000 there and not in other areas of the township? And what are we using to measure, the most effective use of our dollars?
So I had a lengthy exchange with Mr. Hebner. Know him well. He runs here every day. He didn't have a full grasp of what our sidewalks and pathways plan was. Once I explained it to him, he understood it. And the projects that that he specifically mentioned, in a couple of them were very expensive projects that are still in our capital plan. So I understood what he said. I did exchange several emails back and forth with him, and he seemed satisfied when we closed it out through the day. As far as where we select, it is a decision based on where our pathways and sidewalk programming is going. But I want to address that in greater detail at the end of the meeting. I want to form a second committee, a roadways, sidewalk, and pathways committee. I've got several volunteers, some residents that are interested in it, to address exactly that question. Where are we going with our sidewalk plan? What is the main goal? I can only tell you right now, main goal is connectivity to other sidewalks that are within close proximity to one another. This fits into another project that we're working on that I hope to get in front of the board on the 19th.
That was actually my follow-up. So this is like when we look at safety areas, we have a number. This particular project fits into the existing pathways, and so there's a connectivity is kind of the reason that this is selected ahead of others, like at this point.
At this point, that's correct.
Good enough. Thank you.
The traffic on our pathway behind this building on a daily basis is immense. And we often have school kids that come over during the day and walk through here. So the events that we hold here, the winter events, the tree lighting events, one of the biggest safety concerns is parking cars over at the school and then bringing them over. This sidewalk allows for that footpath and adds an enhanced level of safety just here on this property. The goal is to extend it out further.
Thank you.
Did I step on your toes, Karen?
No, not at all. I think the biggest takeaway was that we are directly across from an elementary school. And we had several residents that voiced their concerns. Like I said, Miss Young is one of them, asking when will this be complete. So every time we get some concerns from resident, and there's multiple concerns, I feel that it's my duty to bring it to you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Trustee Vosper.
I support this project. I was going to bring it, you already brought it up. We have many events that overflow parking is at Green School. And while we have shuttles for the safety of the residents, many of them don't take the shuttle because they're in a hurry to get over here. So I think it's a very necessary safety feature to have. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10C. Clerk Berry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10D.
Item 10D is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to award the Chesterfield Interceptor Rehabilitation Phase 2 project to the lowest responsible bidder, DVM Utilities, Inc., in the amount of $2,945,500 for a total project cost of $5 million.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve. Is there any support?
Support.
Support by Trustee Demink. Mr. O'Connor, you want to explain it?
Good evening. This is the second of 3 phases for the rehabilitation of the Chesterfield Interceptor. Last year we did phase 1 of the most critical pipes. This is a continuation of that project. We did have a pre-award meeting with the low bidder, DVM Utilities. Their bid came in around $3 million. The original estimate was for $4 million, and all of this is leading to a total project cost of $5 million, which is the grant amount. So when we had the pre-award meeting with DVM Utilities, we asked if they would extend the contract using those unit prices, which they would agree to do that if this project gets awarded. So that is why the total project cost is $5 million. That is the amount of the grant, and we intend on spending it.
Motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Demink, to approve item 10D. Clerk Berry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, no.
Just for information, this is the grant money that we were awarded, $5 million. Item 10E.
Approve a recommendation to seal, coat, and stripe the community center parking lot by ABC Parking Lot Services for a cost of $10,950 and to amend the budget to include the project expense.
So moved.
Motion by
Support.
Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Vosberg.
Before we
Yep.
hear from him, I would like to ask the maker of the motion if he would be willing to amend it to, instead of amending the budget for the project expense, to use ARPA funds.
Sure, I'll amend that to your request.
Okay.
So Clerk Berry, the motion is to use the funds from ARPA to pay for this project. Is there any language change that you need?
Nope, I'll just add that to the motion.
Mr. Supervisor, just a point of information, do we have any independent evaluation on the appropriateness of the ARPA funds for this? I mean, there are strict parameters, and to just sort of spring it at the board table without, any review, do we have any independent,
Just, it is allowed, it's an allowed expense. Joshua.
Yes, so what you have in front of you is a package that was requested per Trustee Joseph's comments earlier about the Senior Advisory Board meeting, we went ahead and got some prices and put together a design for the parking lot. And to Trustee Joseph's comments, there was a concern there because you have more than 3.5 bus lanes coming into that parking lot. So this does get us significantly closer to those doors, and it moves the handicap spaces up as well, as long as adding some spaces on the outside. So it is a dramatic improvement to the parking lot.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the board? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, I'd just like to, I don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of knowledge in the paving and parking lot service industry, but I do happen to know that the director of ABC is an individual that is known for exceptional work. Mr. Abro is a top-notch in this field, and I was glad to see that he weighed in and provided us with what seems to be a very reasonable invoice for the amount of work that's being done, and the fact that he's able to get to it so quickly and recognizes that we need some help over there with the parking situation. So I really do appreciate Mr. Abro and ABC. So thank you.
Any further discussion? I have a motion by Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10E. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Demink. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10F.
10F is to approve a recommendation by the Department of Public Safety to purchase structural collapse rescue training for all 3 shifts at the fire department in the amount of $6,360.
Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve.
So moved. Support.
Trustee Anderson. Director Bassett.
Thank you. This is a request for additional training for structural collapse rescue training, and this will have every fighter come in, as well as some of our DPW personnel. And this is the first responders who are actually on scene, who may not be technicians, but brings them all up to a basic level so they know what to do to ensure the safety as additional resources arrive.
Discussion from the board? Trustee Anderson.
Yeah, thank you. Years ago, I don't know, it's probably 2 boards ago, we did have an incident near the lake in our township where a worker was trapped. And at that time, our firefighters, I guess, helped direct traffic while the county's respective team extracted the victim, who did, I believe, survive. I've had the opportunity to go and watch our firefighters practice. We have instructors. I know I made a report earlier. I think we have certified members of our fire department that are capable for these extractions, or working on them. With the construction going on in our township and throughout the county, this is definitely a benefit for the price. Thank you.
Any further questions? I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Anderson, to approve item 10F. Clerk Berry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10G.
Item 10G is to approve a recommendation by the Department of Public Safety to authorize the purchase from MCO for the Police Assessment Center development for sergeant positions at a total cost of $14,085.60.
So moved.
Supervisor. Support. Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Vosberg. Director Bassett.
This is a request for our contractual promotional process for officer to sergeant. We used the company MCO, and the request is for $14,085.
And just to highlight, this is an obligated process through a labor agreement. Questions from the board? Seeing no questions from the board, I have a motion by Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 10G. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 10H.
Item 10H2 is to approve a recommendation by the Department of Public Safety to purchase a replacement electronic card access system for the Chesterfield Township Police Department building in the amount of $51,875.
So moved.
Trustee Joseph make a motion, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Director Bassett?
This item was on our 2025 CIP. Unfortunately, the system has decided to die early, and with the system no longer being able to purchase additional units to replace them as they break, so now we have doors that we've had to bring offline. With that, I'm making the request to pull that item early and make those repairs this year.
Questions from the board? Trustee Joseph?
Yeah, Director Bassett, I neglected to share this during our board report and committee reports, but the most compelling piece of that, this expenditure was the fact that the system has been, there are no parts available, and that for some time, the effort to locate sort of, I don't know what you would even call them, cadaver parts, you know, from other systems via eBay and things like that. So I appreciate you trying to extend this into next budget, but it's obvious that it's becoming a security risk, and you're going to have to take entrances offline to keep up. So completely understand, and I appreciate the explanation.
Another highlight I just want to point out too is this is coming from drug forfeiture funds. This is not coming from general.
Correct, thank you. I apologize, I forgot to mention that.
So I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, or Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10H. Clerk Barry.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Item 10I.
Item 10I is to approve a recommendation by the Department of Public Safety to purchase an additional computer server and hardware to alleviate computer system failures at a total cost of $29,357.
So moved.
Trustee Anderson will make a motion, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Director Bassett.
This was an emergency repair that we did have to make. Again, another one that we had planned for a 2025 replacement on our CIP, but unfortunately the computer decided it didn't want to stick around that long. This item is being requested through forfeiture funds as well.
Discussion from the board. I have a motion by Trustee Anderson, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 10I. Clerk Barry.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Item 11, addendums, there are none. Item 12, public comments. There is a 3-minute time limit. The mic is open. If you would state your name for the record, it is not required.
Good evening. My name is Edward Scott. I'm the Director of Macomb Community Action. Just wanted to express my gratitude to this body for entering into the partnership and continuing to allow us to provide Head Start services for the community of Chesterfield. I also just wanted to make sure that it's acknowledged publicly and on the record. Oftentimes in my position, I am advocating for Macomb Community Action, and so it is my voice and my face that gets a lot of the attention, but the real work that takes place is done by my staff. And so we heard a couple of their names tonight, but I just want to publicly acknowledge Sarah Bissa, Marilyn McNally, and Rashida Hammond as primary drivers in this process, and we look forward to a continued partnership. Thank you very much.
Mike Rayner, Jack Grove Lane. Just want to clarify this sidewalk, walkway, lighted crossing. need, it's a great need that we have, continues to ignore the need on Gratiot Avenue. It just happens to be by far the busiest area in Chesterfield Township, but we don't really care much about the pedestrians that get injured or killed as they try to cross Gratiot. We don't care about the fact that the bus stops are not connected. It obviously is not something that's important. It's never mentioned. Actually, Kevin Hertel helped suggest that ARPA funds could be used to improve the bus service, which is a sensitive area for everybody here, I know. Mr. Rayner, he just talks about the bus stops. Yeah, well, that's true, I do. There's a serious need, and I'm shocked that we don't really care. I'm also surprised that even the Chamber of Commerce doesn't care. They're the ones that provide these $14 and $15 an hour jobs that everybody goes to by bus, because you don't arrive in an SUV at 14 or 15 bucks an hour, do you? But that's okay. It's not important. All of the other flashy things are important, and that's the community I live in. I don't like it at all. But I'm just one man and one vote, and I'll continue to express myself in every way that I can. And we all live with the way we approach the issues in our community, don't we? So go for it. Do what you think is in your best interest and the best interest of the community, and I'll do the same thing. Thank you.
Della Hall from Stonehenge Subdivision. I'm still here about my sidewalk. I was here at the July 9th meeting, and Mr. Kersten, you said maybe there could be a resolution to this cement, and I haven't heard any updates on where that stands or what's happening with it. Looking at the construction standards for the sidewalk construction, it doesn't follow what was done with this slab. One of the things was it was supposed to be well drained. Well, we had bad storms that August, and they come out with shovels, and they take a shovel and they flip out water. So that concerned me right there. There's also the subgrade shall be thoroughly moistened and concrete shall be deposited to proper depth. The concrete along the edges and forms joints shall be spaded, and the concrete shall be struck off until all voids are removed and the surface has required grade and cross-section. The surface shall be floated, troweled, just enough to produce a smooth, dense surface free from irregularities. All joints and edges shall be rounded to a radius of 1/4 inch of approved finishing tool. The surface of the sidewalk shall be broomed to lightly roughen the surface. They didn't do this to my slab. They didn't do it in Stonehenge Subdivision. They marked my cement because there was a lip. I still have the lip. When I have somebody come out and do a job at my home, I expect professionalism and to do the job right. I was charged for it, I was made to pay for it, and I expect it to be done right. There's supposed to be a joint. They didn't have a joint in there. So when it expands, is it gonna crack? What about the slab it's up against? Is that one gonna crack? I was wondering who did the cement in the building behind, because that doesn't look like, that looks pretty well done. If my slab looked like the cement work that was done in the back of this building, I wouldn't be here. I don't understand it. And if they don't want to come back and take the time to do it right, then just reimburse me my money. And then I'm stuck with a bad piece and probably have to have it redone myself, which still leaves me a problem.
My name is Janice Young. A couple things, just listed them out here. The Stonehenge Detention Pond, I seen they did some work over there, and some residents sent me some photos. It looked like they were doing more than just trimming the grass around the banks. And I think the residents voted to have no work done, so I just wanted to find out. I emailed Mitch, and I haven't heard back from him, so I thought maybe the board might be able to give us an update what's going on with that, because the residents are seeing work done, and we don't know what the cost is going to be on that. The next thing I want to talk about, I'd like to have the agenda and the Facebook, the minutes posted on Facebook before every meeting. I think it would be helpful for the residents. They seem to enjoy what I've been doing for the last year and a half. They like the information. It shouldn't be up to me, a resident, to be doing that for them. That should come from the board, especially because it's been well received for quite a long time. The other thing is, when the minutes are done for the meetings, I'd like to ask that they're completely, they include everything, whether the item failed or whatever, because I've noticed that it's a little inconsistent. If an item is on the agenda, it should be on the minutes whether it failed or whether it was approved. Then the next thing, on the sidewalk out front there, this board approved extending that pathway across Sugar Bush, and nothing was done for safety markings for over a year. You guys are at fault for that. Now you want to spend over $60,000 of our money to put a crosswalk sign in there, and it's, you know, it's really not what you should have done. It's not how you should have done it. Will the crosswalk button actually stop the traffic? Because it seemed like it was implied that, or it was asked that a button would be a good thing. I know during the Heritage Days last year, we had to have an officer out there to stop the traffic for people to cross. I don't think a crosswalk sign is going to really help a stream of traffic get across that road. So we're still going to incur expenses on that end of it. As far as the senior meeting goes, I did attend the meeting last night, despite being told twice via email by Ms. Vanderston that I was not permitted to attend. She copied Mr. Kersten on that email, so he was well aware that I was being told I could not attend. When Ms. Hutchinson and I showed up there, Ms. Vanderston repeated to us both that we were not allowed to be here. So we went anyway, because they figured they can't really keep us out of there. We were not allowed to make any public comments, so we were not, our voices were not heard there. And it was quite to my dismay and my shock when we walked in the room that two residents yelled out to us, "You're not allowed to be here. You have to leave." And then I was told I wasn't allowed to campaign there. I said, campaign for what? I'm not running for anything. So where were these accusations coming from them? Obviously, they got this information from somebody, and they attacked us as soon as we walked in that room. Maybe they know who I am. Maybe they don't know who Nancy is. But I also attended that meeting because I do have an interest in the care for the seniors. I'm not campaigning anymore, but they're still my neighbors. They're still my residents. They're my community. No, it doesn't matter. But I also was there for personal interest because in less than 60 days, I will be a senior and I'll be able to participate in programs. My husband is considerably older than me, so he's already a senior and should be able to attend. But what really frosts my cake is when the brochure came out. I'm going to finish my statement. When the brochure came out for this segment, I was denied attending.
Any further comments? Any further comments?
Christopher Pierrick, Chesterfield Township. I'm asking the entire board to come together and take care of this resident's property and her sidewalks on Stonehenge. She's been here multiple times talking about the issues that she has. Please come together, pull together as a community, as a board, and take care of this resident. Thank you.
Any further comments? We'll bring it back up to the board. Trustee Demink, start with you tonight.
Hey, David, thanks. This is great. I won't pull it out, but thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This was excellent. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to say, thanks for everybody that supported me. I didn't make it. I'm fine with it because I am retired. I retired from my police job on Wednesday after 47 and a half years in the law enforcement field, and I'm going to enjoy life. I'm up here till November. Thanks, everybody. It's been a hell of a ride, but I am good with the election. Thanks for you that supported me.
Trustee Lossberg?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would just like to give a shout out to Boy Scout Eddie Foster, who's working on his Eagle Scout badge, and he just completed painting the red schoolhouse in the historical village. We'll be able to honor him at a future meeting with a resolution for him, but we're grateful for all the work that he did. Thank you.
Trustee Anderson?
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I know we voted on the interceptor tonight and it went down. I know it'll be back again. And I know that it is necessary to supply our residents on the north end. I know that's serious. After the vote was taken, there was a mention about, well, there's grant money involved. There's also multi-million dollars required from the residents, one way or another, to complete that, and other agenda items that'll be coming your way. You'll have to watch your water bills. I don't know, that might be it. Mrs. Young, I like your suggestion about putting, if it's at all possible, placing these minutes on the township site. I know before you were doing it yourself, and the intriguing part I would like to see is not the board did this, the board did that, when it's not a unanimous voice. You did it, you were good enough to put down the yays and nays on the items as you cited them. I think that would be good for the public. Although the elections are basically over, I still think the public needs to know it. The sidewalks, unfortunately, I haven't supported that. There's a couple of others on this board that haven't either. I hope that this board, Mr. Kersten, that you would reach out to this resident and see if you can provide some resolution on this issue. Thank you.
Trustee Joseph?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Too many things to cover in 3 minutes, but I'll start and try to get through. Mr. Perrick, I appreciate your comments, and it's not a matter of coming together, as Trustee Anderson indicated. Haven't been a fan and haven't voted for anything to do with the charging of residents to replace the slabs. I don't like the program. I don't like the administrative fees. I live in close proximity to this subdivision, and my cement slabs were poured the same monsoon time that yours were. The the base was put down. It was completely washed out and flooded. There was water filled the form, and when I got home from work that night, they had simply just brushed the water out and poured it, and I don't have any faith that that is structurally sound. I'm just hoping that it doesn't fall apart before the next 7-year increment when they reassess and tag me again. I don't know your specific, except that I understand it's been reviewed and determined to be, appropriate. I don't know what else to do besides a fundraiser to pay for your slab and take up a collection, but that is not something that a trustee can do. So the board coming together is kind of difficult. Mr. Rayner, I'm sorry. I know I could hear it in your voice tonight that you feel extremely let down, and you reached out to me a month or so ago. It's been very, very difficult for me with a whole host of personal issues, but I haven't forgotten you, and I promise you that I will get that sort of investigated and at least get back to you some information. I'll let Supervisor Kersten, if he chooses to address the senior advisory meetings. I think, Ms. Young, to your comment, I don't know, I wasn't in the room when you were greeted, but I do know that there was a tremendous amount of resistance for some of the applicants for the senior advisory committee because they felt that the seniors had been politicized, and I know that there was a great emphasis on their part to just simply have access to their elected officials and be able to communicate. And so the meeting was structured in that framework. In my conversation with Attorney Siebert today, I believe that the legal ability to conduct the meetings the way that they're formatted does comply fully with the Open Meetings Act. And again, I'll run out of time trying to expound on that, but I do know that there was a heavy emphasis of not having political anything, and so public comments tend to get difficult. Pitches from outside organizations and so forth would not be an appropriate venue or place for that. But again, I'll let it explain. And lastly, I'll just say, if I could just finish, Mr. Supervisor, the campaign season was rough, and I know that there was a lot of negative things that went back and forth, and I'm confident, I don't think that Trustee Demink, you've conducted yourself in every campaign that you've been involved with integrity. I don't know that there's ever been a concern about dirty politics from you, and I know that when we were recognized, Trustee Anderson, myself, and Clerk Berry, for our 10-year anniversary, that Trustee Anderson and I gave you our 10 years in recognition of your 20 years, and it is a commendable achievement to be the longest serving trustee in our township's history, and I appreciate your words tonight. They were gracious in defeat, which is very, very difficult, and you know, congratulations on a career in law enforcement and on this board. Well served. So, thank you.
Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank all of those who were involved in facilitating our state primary last Tuesday. It was very difficult for me on a number of levels, but the most difficult part was being a clerk when you're on the ballot. You have to do your job. There's certain things you have to do, but at the same time, you have to maintain a certain amount of distance. And I'm not used to doing that. I'm very hands-on, involved in all the trainings, facilitate a lot of the kind of day-to-day activities when it goes to how things are prepared, how they're handled, how they're maintained. So that's just always been the way I've done it, and so it's always tough to take a step back. But our crew was well prepared for that. We had been training for months, multiple times a week, to make sure that our election coordinator and all of our clerical staff, as well as our management team, as well as all of the folks who were election inspectors for us, whether it was on the AV counting board, during early voting, in the precincts on election day. We did a lot of training, and as a result, it actually just went very, very beautifully. We had very, very few upsets. Matter of fact, we had none. Those that we did have, we had a minor technical glitch difficulty that was handled immediately and taken care of. Other than that, it went very, very smoothly, and I have to credit all of those folks who all had a part in allowing that to occur, and so I thank them very, very much. November, thank you for all of the support. November will be another one of those times when I physically am not there to make sure that there is no appearance of impropriety or anything that's gone on that's inappropriate. So I physically remove myself from the situation so that that can't occur, but at the same time, that places an additional burden on the folks who are here. Deputy Clerk Rush, I think she exhausted herself with everything that she had to do that I couldn't do, or that I felt was best if she did it, so that we would have a very clean election, and we did. And so thank you to all of you who contributed to that. I think all of our residents were very well served by your service to the community, and I gratefully thank you for that. Absentee ballot applications have been ordered for November. Those, as soon as they are received, will be mailed out, so expect that within the next week or so, depending on when we receive our order. Again, if you are not on the permanent ballot list, please remember to send back that absentee ballot application so that we can send you a ballot for November. If you are on the permanent ballot list, you will not receive an application. You will simply receive your ballot when those are received. We expect to receive those right about mid-September. Agendas and minutes used to be posted on Facebook all the time. I'm not going to get into details of why they stopped being posted, but I will put in another request to have them reposted on social media. Thank you.
I want to thank resident next elected official here, Linda Hartman. Our public arts application is in process. We partner with local artists and the DAC for blank spaces around the township. That is a grant where artists can design and create murals in local townships or local municipalities on blank spaces. So we're working with that group to kick that off. That would be a grant. As I stated, the Street, Sidewalk, and Pathway Committee has been formed. Trustee Vosberg has agreed to lead that up. I thank her. We have 2 residents and a developer, and our planning department, along with the township engineer. The objective of this group is to do what was stated earlier, we have a $33 million gap sidewalk and pathway program, plan that has been identified, and selecting where these areas should be picked is one of the tasks that I've asked them to do, along with the changes in road share programs with county funds, state funds, SEMCOG grants. This group, I hope, can take this on and prioritize and develop processes to actually put these locations, identify these locations, and then seek funding and bring it to our budgetary process so we know where the money is being spent and it's prioritized. We have an ongoing meeting with Macomb County Department of Roads to discuss county ditching programs and the collapsed culverts that are speckled throughout our township. The collapsed culverts in the county roadway drains create problems and backup flooding. It's been identified not only in this township but throughout the county. We are working with the county to come up with a solution to where this either gets remedied or the township becomes some sort of authority in enforcing or at least identifying the blocked or collapsed culvert. Again, this is an ongoing meeting. I've dragged Attorney Siebert into it, and all surrounding townships are participating in it. We have an ongoing meeting with the Drain Commission, with the Drain Commissioner's office in regards to the drain cleaning out. There's been substantial improvements and in our township. I say substantial, but there's a lot to go. One of the areas, the Meldrum Drain, if you look south on 23 Mile Road, a lot of time was spent cleaning that out. And to one of the residents who spoke to it, I've got to challenge it to say that you don't care. You're not concerned about SMART, and number one, it's not our responsibility, it's not our roadway. We have no say in it. Literally, those engagements, Karen and I have spent the last 2 years engaging SMART and MDOT to correct all those problems. This community sends a little over $2 million to SMART, and our return is very little. Now, I want to talk, I can go into detail about the organization. I don't like it. I don't like how it's handled, but it is what it is. We are doing everything we can to improve it. The first step was identifying, putting MDOT with SMART for next year's repavement. SMART recalculated their bus stops. We've presented this on numerous occasions. We've asked them for shelters. We've asked them for pads around the shelters, but there's nothing more we can do other than ask and get a greater return on the residents' money that's going to SMART to provide a service down there. We're working with it. We're working with their board. We've got the county executive involved. We've got the entire SMART organization meeting with us to try and fix this problem. But it's not going to happen overnight. But to say that we don't care, this has consumed a lot of my time and Karen's time with meetings. I hope very soon to be presenting an agreement with the Department of Veterans Affairs, which is the property south of the Veterans Home here on Sugar Bush. And what that intent will be is to open that walking space up on the old military housing, on the existing pavement that is on that property. It's roughly 60 acres. That creates connectivity and pathways from Donner, Stonehenge, down to Cotton Road, through that property, onto this property here, and then further north. And again, just filling in the gaps of a pathway program it's a study. You got to sit down and see where you're going to, and then actually prioritize it. This is, I hope, very little impact. It's just opening up ground space and having sidewalks already there but creating connectivity. And again, real quick, Mr. Herpich, as you know, many of you, he's been involved in here, been in communication with him. He has, with me, selected an HR director. My hope is to have something bring to the board within the next 2 weeks of a selection process, and then address several other HR concerns that are upcoming. So again, he's been a great asset. I thank the board for allowing me to bring him on and keep him in the loop of HR matters here. With that being said, there's no closed session tonight. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Clerk Barry, supported by Trustee Vosberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at